might call it a dice oracle or a fate dice system. The concept is simple. When it's time to know, roll to find out what you do not yet know. But as you might expect, the devil's in the details. How many dice do you roll? What question do you ask before each roll? What if I roll myself into a quote-unquote corner? What if I don't like the results? I will cover all of that in this short series, but remember that how you use a system like this is totally up to you and your friends that might be playing with you. So, the most basic roll I use is 2 distinguishable D6. This dice pool is used whenever I have no real idea how to stack the dice towards a more probable result. Say your green die is the yes die, and your red die is the no die. High die wins. Here you have a probability of approximately 83.33% that one die will be higher than the other, so most rolls will provide you with an answer. Let's say my question is this blink dog friendly? Since I've never come across the dog before, I have absolutely no idea if the dog is friendly or not. So I roll to find out. There you go. The yes die is higher, so the dog is friendly. If the dice tie, for me, in my kidnapping series, I like using this as a maybe result. And maybe results can be useful, but sometimes you won't want a maybe result. Sometimes you want to know right away what the answer is. And to do this, I use what I call a maybe killer die, which is another distinguishable die, and it can be of any type because we're just going to be concerned with odd and even. So if the maybe killer die is even, that means yes. And if it's odd, that means no. Going back to the example of our blink dog roll, let's say it had come up a maybe instead of a yes. So when maybe happens, it gives you an opportunity to ask more questions. And you can just ignore the maybe killer die at that point. So the next question we might ask is, does the dog look threatening? And then you could roll again. You have a 6 and a 4. So no, the dog does not look threatening. So we now know that your character feels a little better about this situation, but still isn't sure. So the next question is important, and you can come up with a number of different questions, obviously. If you want to try to push the situation in your favor, you might ask, if I pull out a bit of ration and feed it to the dog, does the dog accept it? There's a no. So the dog doesn't take the ration, so that pushes your character back towards feeling uncomfortable about the dog, maybe. And at this point, if you want to, you can just kind of ignore the dog and try and move on with whatever you're doing and leave the maybe to be resolved later. Sometimes you'll have a pretty good idea. You'll have a little more information, and you might be able to stack the dice one way or the other if you feel that something is more likely to happen or more likely to not happen. In that case, you can add another die for the no's if you wanted, or another die to the yes if you wanted, or even multiple die if you really thought that it was more probable that the outcome should be a no answer. So the terminology I use is, if something is more likely, I'll add one die. If something is highly likely, I'll add another die. Extremely likely, and so on. You can keep adding dice, as long as there's some probability that the other outcome can occur. And you don't have to use my terminology, and my terminology is not based on any kind of mathematics at all. It's really more of a feel thing. Recently, in one of my D&D sessions when I was DMing, I gave the players a chance to bring back a PC that was no longer a PC because that player had left the game. And I think I rolled 5 or 6 no dice and 1 yes dice together. They were pretty excited about the chance to bring this PC back because they love the PC. And gosh, sure enough, that 1 yes dice came up and won it. And I had to bring that PC back into the game as an NPC that either I would run, or to make it more fun for them, I let them run it. You know, rolling the dice is one thing, but the meat of it is the questions, how you ask them, and the order in which you ask them can change things drastically. What you don't want to do is keep asking so many questions that it's inevitable that things go your way. Because remember, these dice are emulating what a DM would do when you're playing solo or when you're playing DM-less with a few of your friends. So there's no use rolling the dice if you are not going to follow the fate dice. On the other hand, you know, it is still about having fun, and the dice can certainly do things that will be aggravating. And I'll show you an example in a second about what I mean. But you can always tell the dice, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to make our own decision. And mostly your decisions for your PC should be made by you, and only occasionally use these dice to help you discover maybe something about your PC that you didn't write into the backstory, or that you didn't really know about, or you're unsure about in your own mind when you think about who your PC actually is. Here we see a playtest that I did for the Phandalin campaign, and isn't part of the kidnapping video series, but more a session that I had to establish some of what might be happening in town at the same time using a 2d6 oracle. I didn't really stack any of these rolls, but here's a perfect example of how crazy the dice can get on you. So I asked the question, when the constable arrives at Trezendar Manor, is anyone outside? I got the yes result on that, and then I needed to see who it was that was outside, so I asked if it was Dunbar, who's one of the heroes, and the dice gave me another yes. Then things started to go wrong. So to establish what Dunbar might be doing, I asked, is Dunbar sitting sharpening his sword? And I got a no. Is he surveying the town below using a spyglass? I got another no. Is he standing by the front door like a guard? Yet another no. Is he sitting by the front door eating? And another no. And at this point, I'm just trying to think of questions. So is he putting a ladder in place to go up on the roof and survey the damage? And another no. I'm starting to get a little frustrated, but because I committed to this process, I continued. I think I got 9 no's in a row, which I don't know what the probability of that is, but pretty crazy. And I finally asked, is he standing near the door, face toward the sky, talking to himself out loud? And I finally got a yes. I think the best way around this would be to just create a list of all the different questions, all the different results. 6 of them for a D6, or 8 of them for a D8, or 10 of them for a D10, and just roll that single die, and then it will give you one of the results that you will use. But I had committed to doing it this way, and sometimes it's worth it. Sometimes it's worth it if you want to ask a lot of questions and get a lot of details. So it's really a decision that you'll have to make, or you and your players will have to make. So in the next part, I will talk about additional situations and ways to use this system in RPGs. You could also use the system for other games too. Historical military games, naval games, air combat games, you name it. Wherever you need something to be answered for you that the game rules don't cover. So I will hit those in the next part, and thanks for watching so far.